In this video, I'm going to share with you how I'd learn how to sew if I were starting today. And stay tuned for that last tip because it's going to make or break you as a sewist. I learned to sew in 2004 and times were pretty different. I was 14 in high school, and at that time, YouTube and blogs weren't really big. So learning how to sew online wasn't that available to me. I think at the time I would go look for thread bangers. I think that was the name of the blog I used. It was basically a DIY website. It was sewing and other type of DIY design fashion stuff, kind of a rock edge. Anyway, I would use that and didn't really search on YouTube. My mom was the one who actually guided me and helped me through answering some of the questions I had. She didn't have the answers for everything, but the basic knowledge, she was right there next to me at the kitchen table doing it with me. She showed me how to use my sewing machine and she helped me through cutting through my first pattern. It was very experimental and trial and error type of thing. Now, that differs because you have all the information at your fingertips. Like, you can go online and find 20,000 different articles and videos on how to sew, how to do this, how to do that, and yada yada blah blah blah. And that can get overwhelming. I know, because I do that too. You don't know who to follow, what video to watch, what videos give you the best information, the most accurate information. There is so many different ways to do the same thing in sewing. So you don't really have the confidence in what is right or what you should be doing. And that can be intimidating. That can stop you from wanting to get better. That can stop you from wanting to go forward. If I don't understand this, why would I keep doing it? Why would I waste my time? Type of deal, you know? Now, with all this information available, I know if I were starting now, I wouldn't have done it the same way. I wouldn't have kept the same energy. Like back then, I was curious. I tried things. I made a lot of mistakes, didn't wear more than half the things that I made, but I was willing to learn and I was willing to keep it going. Now, if I were starting that today, I know I wouldn't have kept the same energy. And I know that because there are things I want to learn now that I haven't. I want to learn how to do pottery and I want to continue learning how to roller skate and, get better and dance. My goal is to, just glide easy. But I haven't done anything really to progress. I've gotten the skates, I've bought the skates, but I've had them for probably 4 years now, and I can do the same thing I did when I started. And I know why, and it's gonna be this last tip, so make sure you stay around for that. Here's a strategy I would take if I was learning to sew today. First things first, I would find influencers and sewists that I like, that I can relate to, and I would follow them. Ones who make this very grand goal feel attainable. Maybe it's through what they sew, how they talk, or just how they present themselves in this space that makes you want to follow them, makes you want to get to know them. This isn't to say to do things like them. This isn't to say copy them. It's just good to see what is possible. It's good to see people who you can relate to do the same thing you do. It's kind of like a community thing. If I see someone doing something I like or in my style, it makes something click like, oh, I can do that too. I can do that for myself. So it's a good reassuring thing that it's possible. It is not an unattainable goal for you. Now, I will say watch out for comparison. That is just like a general blanket with all social media. Watch out for comparison and watch out for insecure feelings. If you're starting to get like, ooh, a little envious, a little jealous, unfollow. Okay. You want this to feel good. You want this to feel inspiring. You want this to feel motivating. So if you don't have those feelings when you're watching these influencers and sewists, unfollow. Sewing is attainable. Learning to sew is attainable. And whatever can give you that energy, that vibe to continue forth, that's what we want. Next, I'd take a moment to list all the reasons of why I want to learn how to sew. I want to learn how to sew because I have clothes in my closet I can't fit and I would like them to fit me. Do I want to sew because I have kids and I'm tired of spending money on $10 leggings when they shouldn't be costing that much and they're going to grow out of them in 2 seconds? Do I want to learn how to sew because I want a creative expression or a creative outlet and this is it? Whatever the reason is, you want to identify it and be able to come back to it. Sewing is a lifelong hobby, goal, thing to work at. And this will just be a reminder as you're going through it. Sometimes things get hard. Sometimes things get personal. And you need that just extra nudge. Like, I know why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because it'll make me feel good. I'm doing this because I want to save the planet and not be wasteful with fast fashion. I'm doing this because it makes me feel good about myself. I'm doing this because yada yada, and the list goes on. Okay, so it's an emotional reminder to keep going. You're learning something new. It's going to get hard. It's not always going to be easy. So if you have your reason why, you could always come back to it and get that emotional warmth from it to keep you going, to keep you motivated. Another motivating tactic you can do is actually to list out the things you would like to make for yourself or like to be able to do. This is the goal-oriented part of the strategy. Now, you know why you want to learn how to sew. What are we going to sew? Are you going to fix these clothes? Because if you are, you have to learn how to fit. You have to learn what to take in, where to start. You have to learn things like darts. You have to learn hems. Now, if you wanted to learn how to sew your kids' clothes, you'd start with patterns for kids and what would be good for them. If you wanted this to be a creative expression, what are you trying to creatively express? Are you trying to do it in your home? Are we making pillows and blankets? Or are you doing it for yourself? Are we making hair accessories? Are you making clothes? Figure out what you want to learn. This is where you're going to focus your energy. That's why it's good to make a list, because there are so many things you can learn in sewing and you want to narrow that scope down. Figure out what you want to make and go in that direction. I would also start on Pinterest. Pinterest is a great way to gather the information, to gather the pictures, and to see ideas that form together. Let's say I'm pinning a lot of outfits that have button-up shirts. I'm going to learn how to make a button-up shirt. I'm pinning outfits with dresses with big flary skirts. I'm going to learn how to make a flary skirt and figure out how to put volume in stuff. These are clues that you can use to figure out what it is you want to sew and not overspin your wheels, not learn things that you don't necessarily need to learn right now. The next thing I would do if I were starting to learn how to sew today is to buy my sewing machine / take it out the box / actually start sewing. All right. I have seen a few times where people have their sewing machines, it's in their closet, and they just haven't taken out the box and started sewing. I personally probably waited a year before I took my sewing machine out of the closet and started sewing. So it is a very common thing that happens, but again, you're not going to learn how to sew unless you start sewing. There are a lot of options for sewing machines, and next week I'm going to do a video on how to choose your sewing machine. But the gist of it is, don't overthink it, okay? Sewing machines come with a lot of stuff that you will already need, like thread, bobbins, yada yada, to just set up your machine confidently. There are other tools that you'll need when you learn how to sew, and I have put together a checklist for you that you can download today. The link is in the description, so make sure you get that. Aside from this checklist, try your machine, test it out, have fun with it, all right? You're not going to get comfortable unless you keep going. You weren't comfortable the first time you got behind the car, but you learned. You learned how to push the gas and the brake. You learned how to switch lanes very confidently with a little glance over your shoulder. The more you use your sewing machine, the easier it'll get. Okay. Now, the next step I take is enroll in YouTube University. I would YouTube everything. I would YouTube how to find a pattern, how to read a pattern, how to buy fabric, how to cut out fabric, how to mark my patterns, how to do several kinds of stitches, straight stitch, back stitch, top stitch, edge stitch, just wherever the YouTube rabbit hole sends me. For beginner information though, you can't knock that YouTube is a great resource. The internet itself is a great resource. You can also get books. I would take the steps to learn, to dive deep and to figure things out. Of course, you want to be watchful how deep you go into the rabbit hole. You don't want to be discouraged. You don't want to feel like this is no longer an attainable goal. So just go little by little, have your list of why, start from there. How do I do a button up? How do I do a placket? How do I do a buttonhole? How do I put on a button? What is interfacing and all that? So enroll in YouTube University. Now, I know that that can be really overwhelming because the rabbit hole goes so deep. So what you can also do is join my Sew Your Style Masterclass. It is a 13-week course where we go through each step by step, from getting the mindset, choosing your machine, the basic stitches that you need to know, how to read a pattern, all of that. I go step by step with you so you can confidently start your sewing journey. You can also find that link in the description below. And it'll save you so much time and you won't get discouraged or overwhelmed. And you can ask me what you need to ask me in the weekly live section. So go on and check it out. The next thing I'm going to do is sew, stay curious, and reflect. I'm going to open that pattern, get the instructions out, read line by line by line by line. Because somebody already did the work to tell me what to do. So I'm going to do it. And if there's any words that I don't know, there will be words you don't know. There are words that I still don't know. Me and my girl Google, we're going to get together and we're going to figure it out. That's what it is, all right? That is the beauty of living in today's world, is like the information is at your fingertips. The beauty and the curse also, but it's there for you. So if I'm going through a project and I see a word I don't understand or a line of words that I don't understand, I'm going to do my best to figure it out. I'm going to take my time. I'm probably going to read it 5 or 10 times and go from there. But we don't have to stay in the dark. We don't have to think, oh, I can't get through this. It's impossible to figure out. This was a waste of time. Done. Okay? We can work through it. You can find a Sew With Me page. There's a lot of pattern reviews. I do them now too, where someone may have sewn through this challenge and they can give you another way of handling it. You can go on a blog, read some information on how to do something. Influencers that you're following, maybe you can ask them something. There are a lot of people in this community who want to help. I'm going to look online to see if someone has any extra feedback, a different way of doing something, okay? I'm going to pick it apart, but this thing right here, I'm not going to spiral and go on to who knows what, okay? The instructions are there. Use them as your guide. I don't have to overthink this. There is nothing benefiting me in doing that right now. I'm going to go step by step. If something goes wrong, we'll troubleshoot it. We will get through it. It's not the end of the world. Things will go wrong, and if and when they do, we work through it. So again, sewing is a lifelong hobby, a lifelong passion, a lifelong thing. So you don't stop learning. Don't think that once you open your machine, do a few stitches, you're done. No, it's a lifelong thing kind of thing. And then with the reflection, once you finish, figure out how you could do it better. Figure out what else needs to happen. Maybe you sewed a stitch wrong and you need to note how to do that better next time. Maybe you followed one instruction this way and you've learned that you can do it a different way, an easier way. I still get that now, especially with zippers. There are many ways to put in zippers and I like seeing them because zippers are hard. Anyway, but just keep learning, keep reflecting, and stay curious. That's how you're going to keep learning and get better. The biggest tip I can offer you with learning how to sew today that I didn't need before is to schedule it. To schedule it and prioritize this for yourself. Schedule the time to do it. This is the reason I have not progressed in skating. This is the reason I have yet to start my pottery journey. I don't schedule it. It has not become a priority enough to put it on my calendar, right? I'm busy with mom stuff, relationship stuff, work stuff, home stuff, taking care of me stuff. It is very easy for things to just get away from me, right? So when you schedule it, you make it a priority. Make it an actual line item to meet here with yourself at this time to do the task, to do the sewing. I am going to spend 1 hour at 6:30 p.m. to sew this, right? Make it really specific so you know what you're doing at that time. When you see it on your calendar, it's not left up to chance. You expect to be there and you're telling yourself, your brain, this is what I want to do at this time. This is important to me. When we leave it up to chance, chances are it's not going to happen, right? And that's what's happened to me with the skating and the pottery. I have not scheduled anything on my calendar for it. Therefore, it gets overlooked. It falls on the back burner because I have 1,000 other things that I need to do. If it is something you truly want to do, and if it's something you really want to learn and put your heart and soul into it, maybe not that far, schedule it, okay? Put it on the calendar. Give yourself a chance to learn. Thanks for joining me today. I hope these tips helped you out and what I would do if I were learning how to sew today. If you want to see the sewing machine video and the strategy I would use to choose my sewing machine today, make sure you hit that subscribe button, depending on when you're watching this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see when that video drops next week. If by chance you're watching this a lot later, I'm sure the video is right here on the screen that you can tap into next. For the beginner sewing tools that you need, check the link in the description. For the Sew Your Style sewing class, check the link in the description. Until next time, guys, keep designing your best life. Bye.